Scorpio soul, the supreme judgment has been fulfilled, and what you're about to receive is not just news. It is a spiritual directive that may forever change how you see your past, your purpose, and what lies ahead. Yes, a man in uniform is coming. His message is sealed in higher law. Whether in the form of a conversation, a letter, an encounter, or an inner revelation, his arrival is a divine appointment. And if you're hearing these words right now, it's not a coincidence. It's a confirmation. You were meant to be here. Right here. Right now. Take a breath. Deeper than usual. Let your mind become still, even if only for a few seconds. In this space, where your soul softens and the noise of the world fades, I invite you to listen not just with your ears, but with the part of you that already knows. This is not merely a tarot reading. This is a spiritual awakening. A sacred conversation between the heavens and the quiet truth inside of you. You've been sensing something, haven't you? A shift. A pressure building. The feeling that something perhaps long overdue is finally about to surface. It may have shown up as restlessness, as resistance, as silence, as fatigue. But in the spirit realm, it's been movement, rearrangement, preparation, alignment. The judgment card is not about punishment. It is about release. A divine verdict meant to set you free from the loops you've outgrown. The presence of a man in uniform may seem symbolic, but it carries real-world weight. He represents the voice of justice, of spiritual authority, of hidden truth delivered in the physical realm. This could be a messenger, a protector, or someone who unknowingly becomes the catalyst for everything you've been waiting to understand. You have not arrived at this moment by accident. Your soul has been walking toward this very alignment. And now the message is landing gently but with absolute clarity. Scorpio, your intuition has always been your compass. You've known things long before others did. But sometimes, even the most spiritually attuned hearts need confirmation. So let this be it. You're not imagining things. The signs are real. The timing is divine. And the message is already finding its way to you. You are being asked to stop running. To pause. To breathe. To receive. And to trust that the words you are about to hear are exactly what your higher self has prayed for. Not the surface self. Not the anxious self. But the sacred self, quiet, humble, and ready. If any part of this message already resonates with you even in the smallest way, leave a comment to confirm your connection. Write it clearly. I am ready to receive the message that was meant for me. By doing so, you don't just support this space. You activate the energy behind your intention. And trust me, the universe listens when your soul speaks with faith. Let me take a moment to thank you truly for your presence here. Every like, every comment, every time you subscribe or share, becomes a sacred echo across this channel. Your support doesn't just grow this space. It helps carry these soul-shifting messages to those who may not even know yet how deeply they need them. From the depths of my heart, thank you. And Scorpio, trust me when I say you'll want to stay with me until the final minute of this journey. Because what's unfolding next is not just powerful. It's prophetic. Let's begin. The moment we speak of judgment is not a moment of punishment. It is a moment of unveiling. In astrology, the energy of the Judgment card is intricately tied to the archetype of Pluto, the planet of transformation, rebirth, and deep soul reckoning. And Scorpio, ruled by Pluto itself, is no stranger to the underworld of emotion, to the process of shedding skin, to the burning necessity of letting go. This card doesn't call you out to condemn you. It calls you home to yourself. When the Judgment card rises in a reading, especially now, during a cosmic alignment of Pluto and Saturn, it acts like a celestial trumpet, not unlike the one in the card's classic imagery, sounding out across the spiritual landscape of your life. It says, no more delay. No more hiding. Not because you've done something wrong, but because your soul has outgrown the shadows you've lived in for too long. It's time to rise. This moment is not just about being seen, it's about allowing the truth to be seen by you. The truth you've been afraid to face. The decision you've been putting off. The closure you've been avoiding, perhaps with someone else, perhaps with your former self. And isn't it true, Scorpio, that you often carry so much more than others know? Pain, memory, and even love can weigh silently beneath your surface. But now, the weight must be released. Not to break you, but to bless you with freedom. There is a deep emotional therapy hidden in this symbolism. Judgment says you don't need to keep punishing yourself for choices made when you knew less, loved blindly, or survived in ways you didn't yet understand. The light of this card is not harsh, it's healing. It is the light that pours in when you finally open the door to the room you've kept locked in your heart. This is a release from internal imprisonment. From the perspective of energy work and soul contracts, this moment is a clearing. What you haven't confronted emotionally becomes embedded in your energetic field, affecting everything from your physical vitality to your relationships to your finances. When the Judgment card arrives, it's a divine opportunity to transmute that weight. It's no longer just about healing, it's about reclaiming power. Your power. And when we look through the lens of the law of attraction, this becomes even more essential. You attract what you believe you are worthy of. But how can you fully call in abundance, love, and purpose if part of you still believes you don't deserve it? If part of you is still living in a past version of yourself you haven't yet forgiven? What Judgment offers is not a reckoning with God, it's a reckoning with grace. And grace says, you can begin again. In this light, even the teachings of daily Christian meditation offer profound insight. As Scripture reminds us, His mercies are new every morning. This card, this momentous your new morning. It is your permission to rise. Not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, energetically. The most powerful spiritual awakenings are never loud. They're quiet recognitions that whisper, you are not who you were. You are who you've decided to become. So if you felt stuck, heavy, uncertain, know that none of that is failure. It's simply the build-up before a breakthrough. The truth is surfacing not to shame you but to free you. You are not being punished. You are being called. And what lies on the other side of this truth is not darkness. It's light, purpose, renewal. It's the version of you that no longer needs to survive. Because it's finally ready to live. In moments like this, when an archetype as powerful as the man in uniform appears in your path, it's not just about what is said or done, it's about what is being awakened within you. This figure is so rooted in structure, authority, and decision serves as a mirror. Not to external systems alone, but to your internal laws, your inner agreements, your soul contracts. Whether it's a literal encounter or a symbolic presence, the appearance of this energy is never random. It is the physical manifestation of divine timing, showing up exactly when you've energetically declared readiness, even if you haven't spoken it aloud. Astrologically, this is the embodiment of Saturn and Pluto working together. Saturn is the cosmic teacher, the enforcer of structure, karma, and accountability. Pluto, ruler of Scorpio, is the deep transformer, the bringer of truth through pressure. When these two archetypes intersect, we often find ourselves face to face with a force that cannot be ignored: a letter, a phone call, a visit, a revelation. But more importantly, we find ourselves face to face with the parts of us that are ready to evolve. The man in uniform doesn't come to shake your world as punishment. He comes to awaken you to the truth you're finally ready to stand in. The reason this moment feels so personal is because it is. You've been walking with questions for longer than you let others see. You've been holding a silence that perhaps even you didn't realize had become heavy. And now, through the arrival of this message delivered through a person, a moment, a symbol, everything is shifting. What was once confusing now feels clear. What felt stalled now begins to move. This isn't coincidence. This is the alignment of divine law with your personal timeline. From the perspective of energy healing, this presence signifies an energetic unlock. You've held yourself in place long enough. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of uncertainty, maybe out of loyalty to an outdated version of yourself. But when the message arrives, so too does permission. Permission to shift. Permission to let go. Permission to receive what is yours without guilt. This is a signal that your frequency has changed, that you are no longer vibrating in the same cycle you were before, and so, life is responding to you in a new form. Emotionally, this experience can feel like being pulled between certainty and disbelief, between readiness and resistance. That's natural. The soul often recognizes truth before the mind can explain it. But it is in your willingness to listen and respond that this energy becomes transformative rather than disruptive. The message may come in the form of an opportunity, an ending, a contract, a boundary, a breakthrough conversation, or even a quiet understanding that arrives when no one is around. But whatever shape it takes, it will be clear, and you'll feel it not in your head, but in your chest. This is not just about receiving news. It's about receiving responsibility. Not the kind that weighs you down, but the kind that sets you free. You are not at the mercy of this message. You are the co-creator of it. You attracted it. You've aligned for it. And now, you're being asked to respond in a way that honors your evolution. Write it down, even if your hands tremble. I receive this divine verdict with a peaceful heart. Because when you claim it, you activate it. When you speak it, you set it in motion. And when you trust it, you allow it to bless you in ways beyond logic. Nothing arrives too early. Nothing shows up too late. And this man, this moment, this message, is no exception. When the planets begin to speak in unison, it's not chaos, it's sacred choreography. What may seem like internal unrest or emotional turbulence is, in truth, the movement of divine forces clearing space inside you. These aren't just random planetary placements. They're keys unlocking chambers of your spirit that you've long outgrown, even if you didn't realize it. This cosmic council: Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and Pluto has not gathered by accident. It's an invitation to rebirth, and Scorpio, you are the sign that knows better than any other what it means to die to an old self and rise again, fierce and refined. Mercury begins by illuminating your thoughts. The confusion, the second-guessing, the indecision, it hasn't been because you're weak or lost. It's because you were standing in fog, waiting for the moment when divine light would pour in. And now it has. Your insights are sharper. Your perception is widening. You're not just thinking clearer, you're thinking truer. Mercury helps you articulate what your soul already knows but your mouth may have struggled to express. This is the clarity that makes change not only possible but inevitable. Then Saturn steps forward not to judge you, but to align you. Known as the great teacher of the zodiac, Saturn is not here to punish but to purify. What you've planted through words, actions, thoughts, and silence is returning to you, not as punishment, but as sacred feedback. This is a cosmic harvest. You are being shown what you're truly ready for. And if there's discomfort, know it's only the stretching that occurs when the soul grows beyond what once felt like safety. You're not being held back. You're being refined. Jupiter then enters the conversation with open arms and unshakable optimism. Its message is simple but bold: more is available to you. More freedom, more love, more possibility. But you cannot access it by remaining who you were. Jupiter expands whatever it touches, and in this moment, it is expanding your potential, but only if you are willing to leave behind what was never meant to last. The growth you crave isn't in another place or persona, it's within the version of you that you're becoming. Venus and Mars, dancing in their eternal contrast, now offer harmony. Venus brings the gentle pull of love, connection, beauty, and softness. Mars pushes for motion, clarity, strength, and assertiveness. Together, they ask you, where have you been too passive when your heart needed you to fight? Where have you been too forceful when your spirit needed to receive? Their combined influence is not only balancing, it's liberating. If you've been stuck in a pattern of overgiving or emotional stagnation, this is the energy that breaks the cycle. It's the realignment of how you love and how you act on what matters. And then there's Pluto, your ruler. The alchemist. The underworld surgeon. Pluto never works on the surface. Its work is deep, uncomfortable, but liberating beyond measure. Right now, Pluto is excavating you. Pulling buried truths to the surface. Not to shame you, but to free you from the unconscious loyalties and inner prisons that no longer serve your soul. Secrets you've kept from yourself are unraveling. Emotions long repressed are being expressed. You may feel raw, vulnerable, even exposed, but this is what healing looks like at the root level. These planetary shifts aren't obstacles, theory allies. Together, they form a kind of spiritual support system designed to accelerate your awakening and anchor you in a new frequency of integrity and alignment. What's falling apart is anything not rooted in truth. And what's rising within you is everything you were born to remember. If you listen deeply, not just with your mind, but with the quiet center of your being, you'll realize this isn't the world falling apart. It's your soul coming together. When the number 33 begins to show up in your Lithian clocks, receipts, license plates, dreams, or even in the subtle, repetitive nudges of daily patterns, it's never a coincidence. In numerology, 33 is what we call a master number, vibrating at one of the highest frequencies of spiritual awakening, emotional healing, and divine service. It doesn't just suggest growth, it announces transformation. It is the mark of someone who is being called not just to evolve personally but to become a vessel of healing and clarity for others. And if you've been seeing 33 in moments that feel emotionally heightened or strangely timed, that's your soul responding to a sacred invitation. You are being asked to rise. This number doesn't appear to those who are simply drifting through life. It appears to the ones who have been shaken, pressed, refined, those who have walked through pain, silence, and uncertainty and have not let their hearts turn to stone. If you are resonating with this now, it's because you have done the hard work. You have sat with your wounds instead of numbing them. You have wrestled with doubt but continued to show up. And now, the universe is ready to co-create with you at a new level, one that no longer operates from survival, but from purpose. Through the lens of the law of attraction, 33 becomes more than a symbol. It becomes an energetic mirror, reflecting not only what you've asked for but who you must become in order to truly receive it. The question is no longer, why is this happening to me, but, who am I becoming through this? Every thought you entertain, every word you speak, every belief you reinforce is not neutral, it's a declaration. And right now, you are declaring the next chapter of your destiny whether you realize it or not. This is where the power of self-awareness becomes a spiritual tool. If you've been asking for change, more peace, more abundance, more truth in your relationships, then everything showing up now is part of the answer. It may not all be easy. It may not all be wrapped in beauty. But every challenge you face is custom designed to clear the path for your new identity to emerge. That's how the law of attraction really works. It doesn't just hand you what you want, it aligns you with what you are ready to hold. And with the presence of 33, there is an additional layer of responsibility, not in the sense of burden, but of sacred agency. You are not being pushed into a role. You are being invited to remember who you've always been underneath the noise, the fear, the conditioning. The master healer. The intuitive soul. The quiet leader who doesn't shout, but shifts the atmosphere by simply standing in truth. You are not here to play small. You are not here to repeat the same cycles of self-doubt and hesitation. You are here to speak with clarity, to live with compassion, and to walk with deep intentionality. You may be tempted to minimize this shift, to delay your response, or to convince yourself that you're not ready. But everything about the appearance of 33 says the opposite. You are not behind. You are right on time. The door that's opening now requires you to step forward with your whole self, not the version of you that's been performing, hiding, or shrinking, but the version that has been quietly preparing, healing, and listening. This is your threshold moment. A time when the divine blueprint of your life begins to activate in tangible ways. If your heart is stirring, if something inside you is leaning in as you hear this, write it down. I am standing at the doorway of my destiny. Not as a wish but as a vow. Because when you speak it, you claim it. And what you claim with belief, the universe will begin to align with power. You were never here to blend in. You were chosen to lead, to rise, and to become the answer you've been waiting for. There comes a moment in every soul's journey where silence feels louder than sound, where waiting feels heavier than action, and where the unknown seems to stretch wider than what the heart can hold. And perhaps that's exactly where you found yourself. Tired, uncertain, quietly asking if Anyonyanathing's still listening. But this moment, as still and empty as it may appear on the surface, is not an ending. It is the sacred pause before a new sentence. A divine ellipsis, not a full stop. The kind of pause that often precedes a sudden shift. A message. A call. An open door. In energetic terms, this is the space between inhale and exhale where everything exists in potential, even if nothing has yet taken form. The law of vibration teaches us that even when things appear static, energy is still moving, still aligning, still preparing. So while your outer world may seem quiet, your inner reality is being rewritten. A recalibration is happening beneath the surface. And though you might not see the full story just yet, something within you knows this is not the end. It's the setup. You see, divine movement rarely announces itself with fireworks. It often slips in softly, hidden in the rhythm of your ordinary day. A number repeating on the clock. A name you haven't heard in years suddenly appearing. A strange dream that won't leave you alone. A conversation you weren't supposed to overhear, but did. These are not accidents. They're alignments. And in this moment, you are being quietly aligned with something you prayed for perhaps long ago, perhaps in silence, perhaps with tears you never showed to anyone else. The figure of the man in uniform we've spoken about, symbolic or literal, is not coming to judge or disrupt, but to deliver. Not to close your story, but to push it forward. His message may come in the form of an official notice, a whispered truth, a random email, or even a realization that arrives when you least expect it. But what matters is not the form it takes, it's what it unlocks inside of you. This is not punishment. It is permission. Permission to see clearly. To let go of what weighs you down. To accept the grace you were never meant to earn, only to receive. When you feel overwhelmed by anxiety or caught in the web of loneliness, it's easy to believe you've been forgotten. But in truth, these are often the moments when you are most closely watched over. These are the moments when your spirit becomes fertile ground for new growth. If you've been feeling lost, the truth is that you're actually being rooted more deeply. And if you felt like nothing is moving, you may be in the part of the journey where everything is being restructured behind the veil, where new branches are forming under the soil before they bloom into your awareness. Your role now is not to chase or control what's coming. It's to open. To soften. To receive. You don't need to prove yourself worthy of the next chapter. You simply need to be present for it. What is meant for you will not bypass you. And often, it is in the letting go, at the holding on, that everything finally arrives. So take a breath. Trust that the one writing your story knows the ending even when you don't. And speak this truth, softly but clearly, from wherever you are in your heart. I open myself to what is real. I trust that what comes is for my good. And I believe that even in this quiet stretch of time, the future is being prepared for me with grace I cannot yet imagine. Let this be the vibration that goes before you, an invisible prayer that activates the visible shift. The message is already on its way. The story is still unfolding. And you, beloved soul, are not alone in any of it. Scorpio, the universe has spoken. The planets have aligned. The card has been turned. And the message has reached your hands not as a coincidence, but as confirmation. Everything you've been sensing but couldn't quite name, every emotional nudge, every intuitive whisper, every restless silence has been leading you here, to this exact moment of reckoning and rebirth. But now the choice belongs to you. Will you keep running from what you already know in your heart? Or will you stop, breathe, and face the truth that's been waiting to set you free? Will you continue holding the door shut out of fear of the unknown? Or will you place your hand on the knob and walk through, even if your legs are shaking? Will you cling to the version of you who only knew how to survive, or will you rise into the one who was always meant to thrive? This isn't just another message. This is a spiritual mirror. And what you do after hearing it matters more than you realize. Because from this moment on, every step you take echoes with the vibration of your highest potential. Every word you speak becomes a ripple in the energetic field you now walk in. Every time you write, comment, share, every time you say yes to this path, you are not only shifting your own life. You are becoming a beacon for someone else still lost in the dark. So what will you choose to create from this moment of clarity? What future will you build from this sacred reset? Can you allow yourself to believe that the message was sent not to break you, but to bless you? That the man in uniform, the sign, the card, the shift in your chest, it's not just symbolic, it's strategic. It was always meant for you. If this message stirred something within you, if it made your heart beat a little louder or your breath slow down just enough to feel, then I invite you to take a simple but powerful step. Comment below and claim your energy. Write this, clearly, as an act of faith. I receive the destined message with a courageous heart. I am the one who was chosen. Let it be more than words. Let it be a vow. A new agreement with yourself, your path, and the forces working in your favor. And if you feel this message could be the light someone else has been silently praying for, share it. Don't keep this shift to yourself. I want to take a quiet moment to thank you, truly, for being here. Your presence, your heart, your time means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every time you subscribe or return to this space adds light to what we're building together. It is your energy that makes Miracle of the Sign not just a channel, but a soul-led sanctuary. And trust me, Scorpio, this is only the beginning. Stay close. Because the next door that opens could be the one you've waited your whole life to walk through.